Yeah, exactly. So we're waiting for Andrew a little bit. I actually fucked up on the Andrew stuff.
Hey, I'm here. I didn't want to jump in as well. I actually
Don't
stumbled
worry.
earlier. I said something earlier while
I
I was.
wasn't about to say anything too compromising. I was just saying like I fucked up the time slot. So I actually booked Andrew only for 30 minutes. So I'm sure he's going to make the best of it. Hey,
I
Andrew.
will. Good to see you, man.
Oh,
What's up, man?
Oh, I haven't seen you online. Hey, Andy, I'm going to see you in a few weeks. Actually, a few months.
we're at 2-2.
In is that what it's called? The conference.
Yeah,
Oh,
the
in Vegas.
Vegas. Yeah,
Yes,
the Vegas.
totally, totally. It's gonna be good. Costume
Yeah.
parties. I
You said
can't wait.
costume parties?
Yeah, it's over Halloween.
Oh, I saw that it was over
What are you
Halloween.
going
I'm
to
sure.
bring
Yeah,
on?
no.
You have to start getting creative.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So I think I'm going to start the broadcast. I want to get the best out of it because we only got like 30 minutes with Andrew, as I say. So I'm probably going to give him a bit more voice at the beginning. So like I say, I'm sorry I fucked it up. So it's only 30 minutes time slots because Andrew only takes 30 minutes at a time. And
Sorry, guys.
yeah,
I
no
didn't
worries.
realize that you needed
It's
more.
okay. It's all good. So good. I'm super happy to have you here. So yeah, so I'm going to start. I'm probably going to ask you to sort of introduce yourself, so guys have a bit of a good idea as to where, what context, or from which angle you're participating, what context,
Okay.
and yeah, without further ado, I think we should start.
Yeah, by the
So
way, if there's
yeah,
sorry,
go
if I
ahead.
could just tip over one thing that's really been interesting for me lately that I've been thinking about a lot, it's marketing through Messenger. So if you want to just try a new thought like in here, I'll put that in your head. But I have your list of questions. I'm happy to go with anything that's on there or even apart from the list.
That's fantastic. The other thing we could do is we could just do a sort of follow-up by text. If you have like some other quick thing, you can still send me, and I sort of summary it and then send it to everyone. That could
Okay.
also work. All right, so guys, super pumped to have you all here. This is just amazing to see like a bunch of old friends. So this month we're doing a topic specifically on marketing. So I know you guys, I wanted to actually have all of you on marketing specifically. So I'm super happy and super gifted and very grateful to have you all here. Yeah, so I got a few questions, but before we go into that, there's two things I want to say. The first one is you two guys, as presenter, you can also go to the room if you want to. You don't have to. There's quite a few people tonight. Not so many in the chat room, but you can still go to the chat room. So you type chat.quickmail.io, and then, it's just like sometimes you can also interact with some of the audience. So it's not like a typical webinar in that sense. And if you don't feel like it, then that's totally fine. If you want to concentrate on the call, that's also cool by me. For the other people on the call, the listener, you can go to the chat room, and then it's much nicer to have some sort of interaction between people. I think people enjoy it quite a lot. Hey, Andrew, you're just joining. Okay, so let's go. So tonight we got like four super awesome founders. Pretty I'm super excited to have you all here, guys. And before we head into the question, the thing I really like to do is to let people present themselves because sometimes it shows a different angle. And that will give some kind of overview for people to understand where your advice from marketing come from. So if you could just present yourself in just 1 or 2 minutes each, and your business, and yeah, and let's break the ice like that. So Andrew, you want to
Cool.
start? I see you with your cup, so it's a good question. Start.
Sure. Yeah, my name is Andrew. I run a site where I interview entrepreneurs about how they built their businesses. The revenue comes from a membership that gives my audience of entrepreneurs access to courses taught by real proven entrepreneurs. We feature people like the founders of Airbnb, the founders of Y Combinator, the founder of Wikipedia, and so many others on there.
Yep. Thanks, Andrew.
Cool.
Yeah, go for it, Scott.
Hey Andrew, good to see you, man. We didn't get a chance to say hey. My name is Scott. I'm a co-founder of a company called Troops AI. We've built technology that lets you interact with Salesforce databases through a bot experience for sales and customer success teams that do not like using traditional database software. Company is about a year old. I've raised a little less than $3 million from a bunch of awesome people, like the first money in Uber, had a product at Square, some really, really cool people. Before this, I was running biz dev at a company called Single Platform that got acquired by Constant Contact for $100 million, and I've just done a lot of marketing stuff at those times and in between.
Pretty cool. Thanks, man. Andy, you're next.
Yeah, Andy Drish spent the last 4 years building a company called The Foundation, where he helped people start and scale software businesses, and have taken some time off over the past year, and I'm back in startup mode right now, which feels really fun. I just had a meeting with a partner at Techstars, and he described what we're building as enlightened performance management software. Which is pretty cool. So we want to help focus high-performing virtual teams of 5 to 25 people, help them have more clarity on what's getting done in their business, and make them focus on highest leverage goals. So that's what I'm up to right now.
Pretty cool. Pretty rad. Yeah. It's up to you, Carl.
Yeah, I'm stoked about Andy's new software. He showed me some stuff recently.
Oh, you got
hey,
some
I'm
stuff
Carl Madiola.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
My business has morphed a lot over the last 3 years, but the biggest one now is called Breakthrough Physical Therapy Marketing. I've also got 2 software as a service companies, Clinic Rise and Clinic Metrics. They all help physical therapy practices grow their business. Mostly just helping them market through information products, and then some software and even some services. And we're also kind of actually getting into the direct B2C through to the back pain market as well at this point. So, my background is in software. I was a software engineer a long time ago, and in the last 3 years, I've been studying advertising and direct response marketing like crazy.
Yeah, it was for Tesla, right?
That's right.
They're doing super well, so you should be proud.
Yes, they are.
Oh, what's on your hat? What is that? Those flowers?
Oh man, here we go again, dude. So my
Other people brought
girlfriend.
this up? What is it?
It's flowers. Flowers. My girlfriend's in fashion, and she got me to get this haircut that's high maintenance, and I refused to do my hair. So then she got me this hat so that my hair doesn't look crazy all the time. And Andy was just saying this because every time he sees me, I have this hat on.
Have I said this before?
No, Andy. Andy said
Andy,
it.
oh yeah, okay.
It. Yeah.
Carl, you're so fashion.
Yeah. Right.
Right on.
I think you look cool, dude.
I don't know. I want to see what the haircut looks like
Thanks,
before
bro.
I see whether he looks cooler now. Maybe it's cooler with the haircut.
Well, I mean, it's just a mess is all right now. So
All right.
there you have it.
All right, so Carl, you're going to start on that one then. So here's the first question. Really, when I invited you, I think one of the things I really wanted to know is, at what point did marketing clicked and made sense for you? And if it was an easy journey to go into marketing, or was it actually a hard one? Or, if you had a specific moment maybe, or if you had to overcome some of your limiting belief.
I would say the moment for me that really made me attracted to learning marketing was just realizing that the power is in understanding your market, understanding your customer, and helping them solve their problems. And then in terms of beliefs, I guess we all start with the first. I think everybody has the main problem in the beginning is, I'm not good enough to put myself out there. How do I know enough? And getting over that is probably the most difficult and most important thing I've ever done, is getting over that. Beyond that, after that step, I feel like in order to really progress, you got to get really comfortable with haters and seeing I don't know, failure is progress, because if you don't, if you know, people I think react to like one bad email coming back, you know, maybe as like the end of the world, and then it'll prevent them from continuing. But you know, we react like 10 times more to like negative things than we do positive things, and it's really important to see that as it is and just make objective decisions and just be like, screw it. So I think those are the two things for me that like really helped me to get over, is like realize, you know, you are good enough, you have something to offer, understanding, you know, that the core concept of understanding your market and helping them solve their problems, and then getting over the fact that, like, you know, don't react to just one or two people who are going to be haters. The more haters you have, the more the more impact you're making. I mean, it's just the way it is. The more you're putting yourself out there and polarizing, you know, your audience, the more haters that are going to come back, so you have to get over it.
Yeah, my favorite quote from Carl is, "If you're not making mistakes, you're not going fast enough." I think that was like super powerful stuff.
I mean, it's kind of like what Reid Hoffman says: if you're not embarrassed of the product you're shipping, which in some cases could be a piece of marketing content, then it's probably too late. You're probably waiting too long.
Yeah, totally.
And in your did it actually started at the beginning of your business, Carl? This marketing shift, this or was it, you know, after some time?
I mean, like, I'm kind of describing the progression, right? Like, in the beginning, you know, what prevented me from starting my first business was not believing I'm good enough to put myself out there.
Got it.
Then it was to grow faster, it was getting comfortable with like getting really comfortable with haters and failure, and, you know,
people will put down your hat.
Being able to look at things objectively. And after that, after you have some success, I feel like it's like you feel like you know everything. Like, you feel like for a while, then you have to get over that. If you ever catch yourself saying,
you could have chosen sales. You could have chosen sales or something else. You could have chosen. You could have chosen sell or something else. Why marketing specifically?
For me, I just love the idea of being able to go one to many.
Got it.
Through this type of, through the power of like really understanding the desire in a market and helping them solve something. I just think it's a really powerful skill, and I was just super attracted to it.
You know what? I had this experience when I was in college. I started just reading about the stock market on my own, just how it worked, how business worked. And I would just talk about it so much that I remember my dad used to say, I tell my dad, here's how the market works. He goes, just sit here, tell me quietly here and soft and slow so that I can fall asleep as you're telling me about the stock market. But I was so freaking enthused by everything that I discovered. And then my brother and I put together a mailing list of people who just wanted to see what we were going to create. He was into software, I was into writing at the time, and we just had this mailing list. We tried a few different things, and then none of them worked. Finally, I said, hey, Michael, how about if I write a simple guide about how the stock market works? Just like, what's a stock? Because most people don't know what a stock is. What's a market cap? Why does a company that's bigger sometimes have a stock that sells for $17 and a company that's smaller have a stock that sells for $50? Does it mean that there's something wacky going on here? I just wanted to explain all of that. So I wrote the guide, and then I remember writing the email for it. And the email had way too many exclamation points. But it had all the things that I was really excited about. Like, you actually, if you know a market's going to go up, there's a way to make money on it, right? By buying stocks of companies that are going up. But if you think a stock is going down, you can also sell it short. And then I also wanted to talk about what an option was, a put option versus a call, all that stuff. And I put it all in. And at the time, we were taking checks. And I remember going over to the mailbox, which was in Manhattan. We lived in Queens, and no one wants to send mail in Queens. No one seems impressive if you're in Queens. So my mom took us to Manhattan, to Vesey Street, to go to the mailbox. And I was kind of waiting for the same disappointment that we had before, and suddenly there were actual envelopes, freaking envelopes with checks in it, for people who wanted to pay $10 a piece to just hear what the stock market was for me, all the stuff that would put my dad to sleep. And that's when I realized that this magic of writing was real, that I wasn't being fed horseshit by guys who wrote books about how to write copy. There was something there, and that was so electrifying. That to me was a turning point, that what I say and what I'm passionate about can actually have impact on how much money we bring in. And obviously it's all gotten more sophisticated from there, and it's gotten more heart, like Carl mentioned. I did pay more attention to what customers wanted, but when you realize the power there, it's super exciting.
How old were you at this time?
I don't know. I must have been like 20 or so.
Yeah, you can't say 40 because you would be still living with your dad at 40.
I lived with my parents till I was in my mid-20s because I wanted to save money, because every dollar that I had was going into this company. And I remember feeling like anyone who knew it would consider me a loser, but I gotta do this. I gotta find a way. I would live with them right now if I had to. I wouldn't love it.
Cool. Scott, you want to go?
Yeah, sure. So I didn't even know that I was doing marketing when I started doing marketing. And what I mean by that is I was working out of this co-working space for this startup, and there was this guy who was, who was basically just having coffee with really cool people all day. And I'm like, what does this guy do? And it turned out I found out he was working at a venture capital firm. He was like one of the young associates, and his job was to basically find companies. And so I asked him, I was like, dude, how do I get your job? Like, you just talk to entrepreneurs all day. Like, this is so much more exciting than what I'm doing. And he's like, well, if you want to do this, I think it's really important for you to have a digital presence. It's really important for you to have a blog so that if I search you, I can see who you are, and then I can see how you think. And so I started a blog with the intention of one day becoming a venture capitalist. And I started to write, and I think my first post was about, how I made brownies to make friends with people in my co-working space because I was too shy to talk to people that I didn't know while they were coding. I probably wrote down, I wrote 10 things before I shared any of it because I was embarrassed to share something I created. And then, I finally pulled the trigger, and then I got a bunch of feedback where there were a couple people commenting, a couple people wrote me an email, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And that kind of was the first time that I got a taste of the just the incredibly addictive feedback mechanism of creating something, sharing it with others, and then getting positive feedback and seeing how it performs. And that really got me hooked. And so I really didn't have a product to market for a long time. I probably had written 150 pieces of content while I was still really a sales and business development guy at my company. And it was really just because I really love this process of sharing my ideas. And so I would say, the question is at what point in your personal life did it start to make sense? I think it's never too early, because I really didn't have anything else to market besides myself and being a person that somebody might find interesting. But it still ended up creating an immense amount of value for me. So that was kind of my, stumbling into this whole world of marketing and all the kind of stuff that I do now.
What's interesting is you had positive feedback at the beginning. What would you think would have happened if you had haters or really negative feedback from the start? Would that actually have pushed you away, you think, or what impact would that have?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's not to say that I didn't have negative feedback, and it's not to say that I was like, who the hell am I to tell people how to do something? But I think the thing that, for better or for worse, that was smart about the way that I approached it is just, hey, I'm just going to share stuff with the things about I'm learning, I'm not claiming to be an authority. I'm not claiming to know it all. I'm just going to share something I'm learning. And my blog's literally called Lifelong Learner. And I just never attached I never really attached like a ton of, I never had an expectation that this has to do well or it has to be good. It was just like, I'm just going to share this because I'm learning and I think it's cool. And it turns out that other people found those things cool, and it just kind of snowballed from there. And I think that is where I see a lot of people really set themselves up for failure, is doing something like, all right, I'm going to write a blog on SaaS growth, and it has to be one of the best blogs, and I'm going to grow 20% month over month. And I'm like, you're just like, if you're just getting started, you're just setting yourself up to be disappointed and for failure. And I think it's much better to just, if you're just getting started, give yourself the freedom to not have unrealistic expectations and constraints. Instead, focus on building consistency. And the easiest way to do that is just be like, I'm just going to share anything I think is interesting, because then you don't limit yourself to all of these things that make yourself worried about failing. And then eventually, you know, as you get more sophisticated, you can start to really narrow in and think about, well, what's the best use of my time?
Yeah, expectation is huge. That's a really good point. Andy, you want to go?
Yeah, it was actually really fun to think about this question. I thought my answer would be not what it was. So I grew up in a town of 600 people in Iowa, like a farm town. And when I went to college in Des Moines, Iowa, and it was like the big city. It might as well have been New York for me, because it had taxi cabs and stoplights. And it was such a different world. And for the first time in my life, nobody else in my high school went to this college, so I was free to be whatever I wanted, and it felt like the coolest opportunity to be able to create myself in a way. And I always wanted to be cool, frankly. Like I wanted to be like a cool kid in the sense of like having a lot of friends, and it was something that felt important going into this, that I could start a whole new identity. And so every day for the first semester of college, I wore a neon green hat, and it's not quite as stylish as Carl's. Yeah, a neon green Pioneer seed corn hat. And,
you have to send us a picture, Andy. I want that.
I think I've got some on Facebook somewhere way back in my blogs. And I wore it every day, and I eventually became known as this kid that wore the green hat. And then eventually one of the professors, the assistant dean of the business school, Randy Bloom, came to me one day, who ended up becoming a huge influential person in my life. He sat down and he was like, dude, what's up with the hat? And I was like, I didn't really know. I just wore it because I thought it was fun. And then people started, like I said, referring to me with that, and there seemed to be a benefit in being known. There was something about that. And then a year later, a friend and I started a thing called Spotlight Presentations, where we thought that the business world didn't teach people to present well. And that was a huge component of being successful in business, is what we believed. So we ended up creating this semester-long course where we brought in public speakers and blah, blah, blah. And the professor let us pitch it in front of the entire freshman class. And so we got to pitch it to, 800 students. We ended up having 60 apply. We ended up selling 20 spots at $100 or something like that. But when we were a sophomore in college, that was amazing, and it taught me the benefit of like standing out and having a bit of a reputation, and then seeing what can happen when a person can allow you to get in front of everybody else. Oh my God, so close to that. Or I'll find you guys an actual picture. It was really fun. And so yeah, it was a really beautiful. And what I'm noticing from all the stories is that it seems like there's an element of marketing for the first time where you get comfortable standing out, at least for me, in a way that I didn't feel before. And there's something about that feels scary in the beginning.
That's a super interesting story, actually. I want to carry on, otherwise Andrew will just come for one question. So what I'm interested is, so Andrew, you started with that stock market stuff, and obviously, like you said, nowadays it's completely different. So how did your approach of marketing changed over the time?
Well, what I learned was that I had to understand what my customer was thinking, what problems they had. So actually the call that I'm going to have right after this is with someone on my team who talked to people about what their issues were. And I want to hear from him and see what did he learn from them, what are they going through. A lot of times I talk up Scotch night here at the office, and I do it fairly regularly. But what people don't realize is that a lot of guests who come don't even really drink Scotch. They're just not drinkers at all, some for religious reasons, some because they're working out. And so it's not about the Scotch. What it is about the understanding of the person who's coming here, who's listening to Mixergy, who's buying from Mixergy. I want to get them in here to understand in a private way, what are they going through? What are they dealing with? And I don't think that if I surveyed them, someone would tell me about how, for example, they've got deep anxiety issues. I don't think if I surveyed them, someone would tell me that he hates the way that he's living with a roommate at 30 years old, but he has to do it because he's trying to build his company. All those different pain points come out when you talk to people. And at the time I wrote that first guide, all I was doing was just expressing what I loved and hoping that other people cared to learn about it. Now it's much more about what's going on, what's wrong with you, where do I jump in and help out. I'd like to think that what we're doing is more like a doctor than an ice cream vendor, you know? If you ever go to see a doctor and they just say, oh, here, what you need is an aspirin, you know you need to find another doctor. But I had this doctor in LA who would sit me down and say, what's going on in your life? Where are you going? What are you doing? I remember I said, I'm getting married. And he said, well, do you think about getting a blood test? I said, why? You know, to make sure you don't have anything that you could pass on to your wife, to make sure that you're not related. I said, look at us. She's very white. I'm very dark. We're not related. But no, he was able to understand what we were going through. I said to him, I'm going to Argentina. He said, okay, here, let me give you some diarrhea medicine. I said, no, I'm okay. He goes, well, things happen. So I took some of that, and frankly, I ate a lot of bad stuff in Argentina, but his pills came and they helped out, right? So that's what you want to do. You want to talk to people to see what's wrong with them today before you pitch. You want to understand what's going to possibly be wrong with them in the future that they won't even believe before you create. And that's the big thing that I've learned over the years. I feel like Andy's really good at that.
Yeah,
Really?
Is awesome with that. So what you learn is you had to take one step back, and before communicating, you really need to figure out what the deep understanding, a deep understanding of what's the primary motivation of those people, right?
Yeah, what's the primary big pain that they're solving? Why would someone send a check to me, a guy 20 years old, who they never met? I didn't even have a website at the time, really. Why would they send a check to me? What's really wrong with them? What's really bothering them? Is it that they keep hearing about the stock market and they feel like idiots? And that would have been something to talk about in my marketing and to actually add into the book. And if maybe it's something different. Maybe what they're trying to do is just trying to make a little money on the side, and then maybe the stock market is actually not the right thing for them. Maybe $10 isn't the right price, right? Maybe what they are is in a further place in their lives, and they have bigger problems than just understanding the basics of the market. I didn't understand any of that, so all I pitched was a $10 book, a $10 solution. But if I understood their problems, then I could have really helped them with them, and I could have had more of an impact. Today that book is gone, but I think if I would have understood their problems, I would have created something that would have lasted longer.
So I know you should jump very soon. What do you see next?
Ben.
What do you see next is coming then? What in your level of understanding? What do you see? What's the next thing?
I feel like Scott is in an area that is super exciting right now. I was at a friend's house the other day, and he was showing me how he's creating bots for Facebook for companies like 800 Flowers. So I said, let me see how it works. You go to 800 Flowers on Facebook Messenger, and you say, my girlfriend's birthday's coming up. I need to buy flowers. And they recommend flowers, and you actually see the pictures of the flowers and descriptions. And you click on the one that you want, and you could buy it right there. And the next time that you want to buy, you don't even have to enter your credit card because the Facebook Messenger bot or connection remembers it. And if the flowers don't arrive in time, you could just send a message and say, hey, where are my flowers? And a real human being will respond back. Bigger companies are now doing that. I feel like we need to think about that as a potential way to communicate too with our customers. That our customers' pain right now is that email is just overwhelming. I wonder, can we give them some of the messages via Facebook Messenger, via what Scott's doing on Slack? I don't exactly know where it's going, but I'm really excited to try to figure it out.
Can I add one thing to what you're saying, Andrew?
Yeah.
Before we bounce. I love what you said about the piece of digging into what the real pain is. And I think the driving force behind that is a deep level of compassion for people. And I love that we have these bots that can solve these things, but if you want to start something and you want to create something from the beginning, I think that level of compassion is what is really necessary to find stuff that I think will last, as opposed to just building an ebook or little thing that's going to be here and gone within a month or two or a year or two.
That's a hard thing to do. And I was just trying to figure out how I could make my money, my own money. I felt like I had my own problems, right? I'm living in my parents' house. I'm feeling like a loser here. It's very hard to then take a step back and say, what the hell do these people care about? Who are these people? What can I do for them? To speak to what Carl said, am I even worthy for these people to tell me their problems? Because can I even solve their problems? Can I even be aware of it enough to understand it at my age? But you have to shut all that out and really care.
So you're going to use that on Mixergy now. So I say, hey, can I build a 5 million company? And then, yeah, sure. What market do you want? And stuff like that. That'll be awesome. And here's the 5 interview. Here's the 5 interview that will help you out with that.
Yeah, we do want to get to more and more of that. And we do it one-on-one when people email us, but we need to get better at just anticipating the problems and solving them. Well, thanks for having me on here. Sorry about the scheduling conflict. I'd love to just keep hanging out with you guys. Frankly, I'd love to do a Scotch night with you guys right here.
Let's do that.
I guess I'll see you guys in person sometime soon.
Send the invite.
Yeah. End of October.
Thanks.
Great to see you.
Bye, Andrew. Thank you.
Good to see you.
All right, guys. So, Scott, do you want to then go next on this one? How your marketing approach changed,
so
because you took it quite. Sorry, go ahead. There's a bit of lag.
Yeah, for sure. So for me, it's all about what changed is really this understanding of focus. And I think when I started, you read these articles where it's like 87 places to promote your content and acquire customers, and you're like, oh my God, there's so much I can do, and you try to do all of it. And I think it was my buddy Noah Kagan who first brought up this question that's really been pertinent to me is like, if I could only do one thing to grow my business or one thing for marketing, what would it be? And if that's working, what does doubling down on that mean? And for me, that's how I've reoriented my thinking, is really to only pursue the things that give me the most leverage. My time is really limited. And just really, really, when it's working, double down instead of trying to do everything, which I think is really easy to do and get sucked into. And so, yeah, that's just how I think about it now. And very tactically, for me, the most high leverage thing I've ever done is actually investing in SEO. So for my new business, I did all this blogging and podcasting and social and this and that, and 90% of my traffic on a site I've had for 4 years comes from some random blog post I wrote, like 3 random blog posts I wrote 2 years ago, because I just stumbled into a highly queried, unique keyword. Go figure. And so maybe, so I look at that and I'm, you know what? I should probably reverse engineer that this time around, and that's how I think about it. And I spend my time doing that and building out a bunch of I have a pretty sophisticated backlinking strategy at this point. And so that's how, pick one thing that you think is going to work the most and do that really well, and start there.
Yeah, I love when Noah is actually saying keep doing what works. It sounds so obvious to hear that, but until you actually experience it and then start doing all those things and then come back to it, that's a really powerful concept.
Yeah. Everyone continues to screw that up, by the way.
I know, it's crazy.
We'll continue to screw it up for the rest of our lives because we get bored and We're all pretty stupid at the core.
I don't know the psychology of why, but yeah, it's crazy.
Like, this is working. Got to try something else.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
Anyway.
another anecdote, just to kind of like just really hit this one home. My buddy is running marketing at this company called Drift. It's like a really fast-growing SaaS company. They're in like kind of like the intercom.io like on-site chat support thing, and he made this slide share that got like 100,000 views and like drove like a couple thousand leads and all this stuff. And his boss is this like 4-time exited founder, David Cancel. He's a total badass. And he's like, my only feedback for you, like, you're doing a great job, but like, why the hell did you stop making slide shares? Why aren't we just making slide shares? Because what you did is working. Like, don't go away from it. And to me, that was, I think about that a lot. Where, yeah, it's just, if it works, keep doing it. Keep beating the horse until it's dead. Or a less elegant analogy, but yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah, I see you're getting bored, so you're sending stuff on the
bored,
chat room. Yeah, bored.
Paul's here. Paul and I have been trying to catch up forever, and we can finally go to a concert together next Monday. So
it's awesome. But go for it. That's your turn.
So one thing to add on this, the marketing piece, what actually shifted was I went through a phase of thinking everything about business was sales and marketing. And I thought that was the whole game of business. And what actually shifted for me as Foundation grew was that I learned that that's one piece of the pie to actually be able to build a business that scales and that continues to run. And that was a shift for me. Where eventually you do sales and marketing long enough to where you're doing it really well to when we get, Jeremy, like when you went through the class of 600 people, when we had 600 people sign up for the foundation, everything broke. Like everything was just chaos for 9 months. And then all of a sudden the game of business changes and you actually have to worry about hiring and keeping your employees in alignment and making sure that they're focused on highest leverage goals where it's not just you focused on marketing. It's like, how do they focus on the most disciplined one thing they need to be focused on? And the whole game changed. And so I had marketing and sales as like this thing that everybody needs to do, and like this is the end all be all, and it kind of shifted to where yes, you need to learn those skills and you need to get really, really good at them, and there's a point where that becomes one step in the whole game of business, and it was cool. I feel like I have a more integrated view on business as a whole now.
Brilliant. What about you, Carl?
Man, everything everybody said is spot on. Scott mentioned probably the biggest problem I think we all face. Like one of them, once we get started, everybody tries a whole bunch of different things. Focus on one source of traffic and one way of converting customers. And yeah, that's super important. It was a super important learning. Understand your customers, like understanding that the key is figuring out what the biggest desire is in your market. You can't create desire. You can't create it. It's something Eugene Schwartz says in Breakthrough Advertising. You can only harness what's there. And so you have to really understand, in their words, what it is that you want, what their problem is and what they're experiencing, and show empathy to do that. And yeah, I mean, understanding that, and then know that you should understand your numbers will really take you to the next level too. Understanding how much it costs to acquire a customer, and the total value of your customer, because then you can realize how much you can spend, and it can just become a cool game. Like, I'm going to buy customers for this much, and then I'm going to make this much money. I guess yeah, super important. Beyond that, what's worked for me, creating automated campaigns is something new. I think that's just because, for some people their skill is one-on-one selling. For some people their skill is presenting or writing. But for me, it's like looking at stuff from afar. So automated campaigns for me took just like really just played to my skill set, because that's what I'm good at, kind of like scheming around that kind of stuff, I guess. And then where do I see the next level for us is like really looking at all of our, like, we are marketers, so that's our gift. So looking at our business as like helping others and looking at our assets as like what are the lists of customers that are available. So we serve physical therapists, but they have lists of doctors, they have lists of people with back pain. And so what markets are we really in? We're also in the lead generation business for back pain. So if we can help them provide products to their back pain patients, and give them value back by, helping them make some extra revenue, we're going to make a ton back too. So it's like really understanding like the ecosystem that you're in. I think that for me is like where I'm thinking next is like, what are all of the different customer lists available to me? What markets am I really in, and where's the next big opportunity there? So that's, I guess, where I'm looking to the future now.
Got it. Okay, time is flying by, and I think I need to accelerate a little bit. We're only at question 3. I think you hinted a little bit towards those. You hinted a little bit as an answer for that question, but really it's the idea of figuring out, what's not working anymore, and what is going to work, or what is actually working right now, what's not working anymore, and what is the thing that will always work, kind of thing. So I think the understanding your customer is the thing that will always work from what you guys are saying. What are the other things that you think is trending, or the thing are dying? Anyone wants to jump on this one?
Sure. I mean, old school direct response and copywriting is going to be the best way to learn how to really understand the desires of your market, in my opinion. I could list off a million books. And I think storytelling, obviously, is never going away. And the super tried and true, sources of traffic, like, and conversion, like email, is not really going to go anywhere. I think things may shift. I mean, you got to pay attention to the way people are. I mean, you look at the way your market is. Where are they? What are they listening to? What are they reading? Where are they hanging out? What are they watching? You come up with that list, and then you choose the one that works best for you. That's never going away. Webinars, workshops, those types of things are never going away. A place for you to communicate with your customers. What's hot right now? Obviously, Facebook ads. Free plus shipping funnels. Like, I think quiz software, like the quiz stuff, I guess, in my mind, is just kind of the stuff that I'm seeing that's trendy, things that'll maybe come and go. But, the old school stuff, the fundamentals never change.
Yeah, I'll hop in on this. Oh, go ahead, Scott. I actually would like to hear yours first, because I think...
Yeah, so, I mean, I feel like everyone and their mom has a podcast now. I think it's actually a really low leverage use of time. Quite frankly, like, I did one. It was great to connect with people I already knew. It was not great for discovery or creating the amount of leads that I would have liked, given the amount of time investment. I think it's a much more intimate thing to do if you already have a big audience, than people that love you and you just want to like connect with them. Like, I also think it's super crowded, right? Like, I could read like 30 blog posts in a day. I can't listen to 30 podcasts, so I pick 2 or 3, and it's going to be hard for you to beat like Tim Ferriss or Jason Lemkin or some of the people that are kind of the true luminaries in that interest group. So I think that is something that's dying. I think things that are timeless are really just teaching people new things, teaching people stuff, finding out where those people are that need to be taught. Like, the easiest way to think about marketing is like, who am I trying to reach? Where do they already hang out? What can I tell them that they don't know that they want to know? That's it. Like, figure that out. And then the question that I always ask is, well, how can I do this in an evergreen way? For me, I don't think people are gonna not use the Google search bar anytime soon, and that's why I'm just into SEO. And so that's how I think about that. And I think there's a lot of interesting things going on right now. Andrew mentioned bots. Personally, I think what's trending, my personal opinion, is that the next distribution wave is bots. And the reason, and I'll tell you why, and I'll tell you what's happening in my business. So think about what it would take to get into an enterprise company of 500 people before. You'd probably have to find someone at that company. You'd have to convince them to introduce you to a manager, to show them your software, and maybe do a pitch and get 5 people's consensus that your product is worth it. Versus these enterprise messaging platforms, at least Slack in particular, and I only can really speak to my world. Somebody can download my bot, use it in a public channel in front of 500 people. Everyone goes, holy shit, what was that? They try to use it, they can't, and then they get immediately ported to a page to install it when they try to use it. And all of a sudden I just acquired 500 users from one at an enterprise level. That's never been possible before. Because even if you had a Chrome widget, somebody at that company would have to install the Chrome widget and tell everyone, and I'd have to see their screen. And now it's if what you're building is inherently being used socially in front of everyone, it's just an acquisition, type of acquisition that's never been possible before. And so I'm really excited about that. That's how I think this is a new distribution paradigm. And I think Facebook's another example of that. I don't know what the Facebook bot ecosystem is as much. And so that's what I think is kind of the trending. I think for people that are thinking about B2B and SaaS, think about that, because this is a really unique moment in time. I do think I think the new app stores are the bot stores, and I think that people aren't going to download 2 Salesforce bots, and they're not going to download 2 whatever bots. So I think this is a huge land grab opportunity.
Badass. I'm so grateful to be on here with you guys talking about this stuff, because I forget how much fun this is. We were just talking last night.
I haven't done this in so long. This is so
either.
The AI stuff, I was like, oh yeah, we were talking last night about, all right, so there's been waves, right? Podcasting was a wave, Amazon was a wave, the App Store was a wave. What's the next wave that's coming on that creates a space where you can jump into it and within 2 years, really capture the market? And I think you're spot on, Scott, with bots. I think there's a huge opportunity that will be emerging there. Real quick on just things that are timeless. Things that are timeless are building incredible products, having awesome customer service, being a good human, being consistently disciplined on those focus things. Those things are never going to die out. Understanding psychology, that is one of the greatest skills to master as early as possible. I'm just going to say one thing that I think is really unique about right now compared to any other time in history, especially if you want to start a business from scratch and haven't done that yet. We are seeing an unprecedented access to information, access to contact information of the right people. You can be building lists of people in a way that is just we've never been able to do before. Think about you had to do a bunch of phone calls or send direct mail messages. Now pretty much everybody's email is either accessible or you can find it pretty damn quickly. I just went through Scott's direct marketing course he put out on Udemy, and it's just really, really simple how to find contact information of the exact people you want to get in front of. And it is wild to me, and same with Jeremy, your product with QuickMail, how you can have an entire database, an automated email sequence, and you can be generating leads like that within a few days. And that is something that I don't think is going to be around forever. People are going to get tired of getting emails. They're going to get blasted with all these things. Email is going to morph and change. I think it's already happening, and I think that's something to hop on sooner than later if you can.
Lots of really cool stuff. I remember last webinar we were talking about sales, and Nathan Latka was talking about bots are going to sell to sell the product in the future. And then everyone was like, oh, no, it has to be like human interaction. So it's super interesting to see also the marketing point of view on that one. Good stuff. So yeah, just like a small anecdote, if you've seen like something that's been done in marketing that's been working super well lately, that'll be quite a nice thing to share.
I can just speak for something of a strategy that I'm copying. And it's really just taking one piece of content and using it 5 different ways. And so I'll give you an example of one we're doing real time, and I did take it from these guys named who have this company Drift. And so, if you create, like I'm creating this slide share that's like 13 different use cases for sales teams using Slack. And I had somebody create the deck, and it looks really nice, and I'm going to have a slideshow of that. Then I'm going to recreate that same content basically as a blog post, but it's going to be in written form. And then I'm going to recreate that as an answer to a Quora. And I'm going to then recreate that as a guest post, and probably like sub answers on Quora. And so I guess what I'm saying is a lot of people, they just continue on to the next piece of content when they're thinking about content marketing and using it to drive leads, when instead really trying to drip the juice, like squeeze all of it, so that you're able to get the most leverage out of that initial research or idea or thought. And it just amazes me how, there's just so much opportunity to do that today, and I see very few people doing it.
Nice.
Yeah.
I don't have a good answer for this question.
Cool. Man. Well, we just did a book launch and got the most amount of leads we've ever gotten launching a free plus shipping funnel at once. Like scheduled something like 200 or 300 appointments with our sales team, booked them out for over 2 months from a book launch. Books are old, and they provide an amazing amount of celebrity authority and expertise. It's never going away, and it's easier to write and publish a book than ever. And it's you can get way more leverage out of a book now than you could ever before. And offering these simple like free plus shipping offers that have been really around forever is easier than ever now before because of the software available like ClickFunnels and things like that. So it's really, really an amazing way, no matter what business you're in, to generate a lot of leads, and to even do it for free, because you're liquidating your entire advertising costs if you're doing it right with the shipping offer, the free plus shipping offer. We had our highest show up rate for a webinar ever this week using text messaging. Same like you saw. Wow. People are talking. We send because to sell the book we required their cell phone number, and then we just texted them to get on the webinar. We had an 80% show up rate, which is ridiculous. I've never seen that before. Like usually our highest is like 35%. First time we've ever done that. So that's working really well.
They know you got their address, so they better turn up.
Yeah. What else is working really well? Giving lots of value and making lots of offers. Another classic, like just make people super stoked and make them feel good, solve their problems, actually help them with something first and then sell them something. For sure. Like that's working really well. It's obviously like part of it's why the book worked so well. I guess automated webinars, right? Like automated campaigns are really cool. The technology you can use to just give a lot of value in advance. We've even done it with automated live in-person workshops all over the country to attract people with back pain to different physical therapy practices, using the same technology, but then getting them to actually show up from Facebook ads is working really well. Yeah, like Facebook ads are crazy. It's not. This trend will not last forever, as easy and crazy good as it is right now. Yeah, it's one to kind of jump on if your market's there.
Awesome. Okay, next question. That's an interesting one I got from a user. If you had to start doing marketing for a small startup with little to no budget, what would you spend your energy on? So some of you already hinted to some of the question, like Scott, on the reuse of getting all the things from the same thing.
I got an answer to this one because I'm doing this right now.
Nice.
And two things. Just a shitload of direct sales, like direct response, reaching out to people, sending a bunch of emails, getting them on the phone, closing as many people as you can, doing that until you can build up some sort of traffic source outside of that. So that would be hands down thing. And at the same time, as you are doing that, targeting the most influential people in your space and getting them on board. I've been doing this thing since I was 18 that I've kind of called cool kids marketing. And it's this idea that if you get the cool kids on board, the people who are like the leaders in the space, like the Andrew Warners or the John Dumases or whoever that person is, and get them on board, everybody else falls so much faster and so much easier. So if you get one of those, all you need is one person like that, and it can open up a floodgate of doors. It happened when we launched Foundation. I just watched Nathan Barry do it with ConvertKit. Like once that one big person comes, everybody else follows. So direct sales to get cash flow, to get leads coming, to test the product, to figure out what your messaging is, then start reaching out to the influencers when you've got that pretty dialed, and then use that to snowball.
Who was the cool kid on Foundation?
Who's a cool kid?
Yeah, you said we brought one for Foundation. Who was it?
Well, when we launched Foundation, Andrew Warner was the first person that we did interviews with. When
That's
we got
true.
on
Mixergy, of course. Yeah.
Then that led to Pat Flynn with Smart Passive Income, and that led to a whole floodgate of like Internet Business Mastery and Jamie Tardy, and there's a whole slew of things came after those two. And so I've watched that happen over and over. Like if you can get somebody really cool on from the beginning. There's a really awesome the guy who did About.me. He had 25 advisors, 25 advisors he gave a tenth of a point of equity to at the beginning of the company when they had 6 employees. And he did that purely for the social proof and credibility. So 25 people like Kevin Rose, Tim Ferriss, like all these people that were using About.me, and then all of a sudden it creates this whirlwind of like, all these cool people are doing this. Why are they doing this? What is that actual thing looking like? And then it becomes a lot easier. So.
Yeah, I'll just second that. There's a great blog written by these guys who have this company called Groove HR software, and they did this thing where they did this blog launch where they just did like influencer marketing where it was like, hey, I'm writing this blog about my journey to 100K. Like, is it cool if I like keep you in the loop and let you know when we launch it? And when they launched the blog, they had already like kind of given the heads up and the hat tip to like 50 influencers they wanted to target, and then all those people were like cheering them on in their comments, and everyone's like, holy crap, like so-and-so reads this blog, like who are these guys? I'm going to subscribe. And they've done an excellent job content marketing, and so I think that is like a tried and true strategy. Yeah, and then if I had $0, I'm with Andy. I would just start doing outbound sales. The fact of the matter is no one's looking for you. Repeat, no one is looking for you. And so you need to go knock on everyone's door. And tactically, the way that I do this is I go through my personal Rolodex until I exhaust it, and then I start going through. I start building lead lists and putting them in massive email sequences until they would get on the phone with me. or even call them. And so that's kind of how you have to do it. I'd say like things like content, starting a blog, you should do that. It's a long tail strategy. In the near term, you have to be much more direct about your acquisition, in my opinion. And you shouldn't even think about partnerships, because I know that sounds like a good idea, where it's like, I'm just going to partner with somebody and they're going to like do it for me. And the reality is, and this depends, and I come from the world of technology partnerships, actually webinars can be a really great launch strategy if you have a large partner, somebody who's like, I'll do a webinar that you can promote yourself. That can be a good strategy, joint webinars, because you can leverage other people's hard work. But if you're talking about like reseller partnerships or technology partnerships, it sounds great, like somebody else is going to do the work for me. It just is not a really actually in practice effective strategy, and you need to know your customers, and no one will know your customers better than you.
I totally agree. You have to start with one-on-one conversation in order to understand the mass desire of the market. I am, though, a paid traffic guy. I prefer paid traffic over anything else just because I feel like I have more control. And so as soon as I understand the desire in the market, I am going to spend $200 to understand if I can run some paid traffic. But play to your skills if that's not your skill. If I can run some paid traffic to an offer and get some people to opt in at least for the strategy sessions, and then try to scale that. My very first webinar I ever ran, I decided to run it on a Friday, and then I ran it the following Tuesday, and I spent $200, and we ended up getting, I don't know, I think about like $4,000 in sales off it. So, I mean, and that was like really bootstrapped. I mean, I spent a little bit of money and it worked. But at that point, why it worked was because I really understood the market. And so, like, testing is key. You can test things for really cheap these days. And testing on your one-on-one calls and one-on-one emails is, really the best way to learn.
Awesome.
Yeah, you can't skip the phase of getting on the phone with people, because that's where all the insights come from. Just like Andrew said, of like the real desires, the real hot buttons, the real triggers, the real objections. I've never found a way anyway where you can skip that phase, and it doesn't have to be long, a few months, like to get the initial like, all right, here's the landscape of what it all looks like. But
yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Guys, that's a lot of super useful value. We are blowing the hour. It's usually typical when I'm hanging out with people I like. So I'm just going to close down with two questions. We hear a lot about sales and marketing, and for people it's kind of blurry. Where do you place the limit between sales and marketing? That's the first one. And the second one is, what are the resources on marketing specifically that you would recommend people to check out to improve their marketing skills?
I'm going to take this one because I have to go.
Yeah.
So for me, the differential between sales and marketing is marketing aids sales. Marketing basically gives people the opportunity to sell. And by the way, it doesn't have to be people. It could be the opportunity to go to your buy button on your page. And so generating those opportunities is the job of marketing, and closing the door, at least if you have hand-to-hand sales, which, by the way, could just literally be testimonials on your website. That's the job of sales. Places that I like marketing content are, I really like the stuff that the guys at Sumo Me put out. They have some excellent content. Growth Hackers is a community that's really, really good. I think it's just growthhackers.com. And I'm also in this Slack group called Growth Circle that's really sick. I don't even know where I found it. Somebody invited me to it, but I'm sure if you just Google the Growth Circle Slack group, you could probably find it.
That's cool.
Cool. Guys, I got to run. I'm running late to a meeting. It was so awesome hanging out with everybody.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. Really appreciated you having me.
Yep. See ya.
Bye-bye.
Awesome. I'm going to give you a really simple framework for the way to look at business, I think, that makes this really clear. There's 5 things to think about: marketing, sales, product, overhead, profit. That's it. Everything in the business should be able to be categorized into these 5 areas. Marketing is what you do to generate a lead. Sales is what you do to take a lead to being a customer. Product is what you do to take a customer from being somebody who is a raving fan and absolutely loves you. Overhead is what you do to keep all of the stuff in the business running, and profit is what you have left at the end of the day. And you should be able to break down your percentages that you spend in the business into each one of those 5 categories. So, 25%
Where do you
of
put
revenue.
support, Andy?
What's that?
Where do you put support in that framework?
Depends on how you look at it. Some people put it in overhead.
Exactly.
I think it goes in product.
Okay.
I think it goes in product. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the simplest frame that I've ever heard. And then when you know your numbers, you can be like, all right, 20% can go to marketing. We can pay guys 20% to close the deals. We can invest X amount to build the product. It doesn't, in reality, I don't know if it's always that simple, but it's really helped me look at business in a really simple frame.
For me, I'm just going to get more specific on the question. I just feel like the way it was asked means you're curious where the handoff is. And for us, it's been something we just recently changed. So we do one-to-many selling, but we also do one-on-one selling. And so for us, things get handed off to sales at the point when they show up on a call, right? That to us, that's sales. And the reason we do that is because we felt the skill on our marketing team was better at helping to get people to show up on the calls than it would be on the sales team, because we can create a lot of automated stuff. So we've taken that responsibility. So I guess for us, we're drawing it once they're on the phone, it's the sales team to take over from there, and we always support them. But yeah, that's where we're doing it. The way we're doing it in my businesses.
Got it. All right, guys. Yeah, I think we have to stop. Thanks so much for showing up today.